Happy Friday, everyone. It's Judgy Cow. I'm back again with another Reddit story from Aita. This time, OP is asking if she's the a-hole for letting her daughter and her daughter's husband move in with her so that they don't become homeless. So let's get started. This situation is complicated and I'm at my wit's end. I have two daughters who are civil to each other but don't get along with each other. My eldest is married to Steve while my youngest is engaged to Adam. Steve and Adam are so different, they disliked each other from the very first time they met. Steve works part-time because he treasures family time with my daughter. They spend their time traveling and exploring different parts of the state. He spends freely because he often says he can't take his money with him when he dies. Adam is an executive and for his side business he owns several dozen properties. He works about 80 hours a week at both jobs because his philosophy is that he wants to make as much money as possible while he's young so he can retire. Steve thinks Adam is a corporate shill and basically blames him for everything that's wrong with society. Steve said that Adam is actively keeping people from buying homes and making them dependent on him. Adam thinks Steve is a slacker and has told Steve people like him who do the bare minimum but expect handouts are what's wrong with society. Neither of them are bad and they treat my daughters well. I retired last year due to my health, so Adam built a house for me so that I could live comfortably. I was able to customize everything in the house to fit my taste. Adam owns the house, pays for all the utilities and charges me $1 a month for rent. Part of our deal is that no one else can live in the house but me. He was very clear about this. Now, Steve recently lost his job, so he and my eldest are living off her single income. As you can imagine, they are struggling. My eldest recently called me crying because their savings are almost gone and they can't make next month's rent. She asked if she and Steve could move in with me until he finds another job. I live on a fixed income, so I don't have money to set them up in another apartment. She's my daughter, and I couldn't let her be homeless, so I let Steve and her move in. I gave them strict rules and a time limit on when they had to move out. I didn't think my youngest and Adam would find out because they live in another state, but somehow she found out. She called and screamed at me last night for betraying Adam's trust, but I argued that I'm a mother to two daughters and I can't let one be homeless. I told her about the rules and the time limit and begged her not to tell Adam. She hung up on me, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know I went back on my agreement, but I had a good reason. Wow, so that's the story so far from OP. OP has come back and added some more context, which is as follows. Edit. I couldn't add many details in my original post because I was afraid of going over the character limits. Adam pays the taxes and utilities on this house, but because it's the only house he has in this state, he keeps its financials separate from the rest of his properties. Also, it doesn't really have anything to do with the house. Instead, he gave it over to my youngest to take care of, so she handles all the bills and maintenance and pays them out of an account he set up. She noticed the increased utility cost, which is when she called. We just spoke again and I laid my soul bare to her. I knew I was going back on our agreement, but it was to keep her sister from being homeless. We had a lengthy conversation and in the end, she agreed not to tell Adam. She'll cover the increased utility cost out of her own pocket so he won't notice it. In exchange, her sister and Steve will have 3 months, then will have to move out. I originally told them they had 6 months. I'm lucky to have such a compassionate daughter. Thank you for taking the time to read my post. Some of the comments are very hurtful, but some were helpful. You made me realize I should have called my youngest at the start and asked. That would have saved a lot of... So the community has said OP is the a-hole in this, and I agree with them. Simply because she's putting her youngest daughter's marriage at risk. Adam gave strict instructions that nobody else lives in the house and she's let someone else live in the house without letting her daughter know and then has asked her daughter to lie. And that is going to put her marriage in jeopardy. And I think she's the a-hole for that. But also the other person who is the a-hole is Steve. And he has some audacity because not only does he not like Adam, actively berates him, but now wants a handout essentially from, from Adam's success. Let's see what the comment. Equivalent collar 59 says, YTA, I'm sorry, but Adam is doing you a favor by letting you live in this house, and he gave you one rule, so he's not taken advantage of. And not only did you break this rule, but you did so by allowing the person who insults Adam to live there. Your daughter and her husband want to live by the values that they have, fair enough, but they need to be able to have money to back that up. If by Steve losing his part-time job, they are in so much trouble, then they didn't have the money to spend freely and go traveling to begin with. Yeah, you have two daughters, but at the end of the day, the person who owns this house has no obligation to house your adult daughter and her husband. And honestly, if you lose your home, it's because that you only have yourself to blame. I agree with that. Looking for advice 30 says, YTA, sorry OP, but you are a massive a-hole. This guy built a house for you and asked you to pay $1 rent with the only condition that you don't allow others to live there. I don't know anyone living in such generous and giving conditions. So yeah, you massively breached the trust of the giving hand. I understand you're concerned for your less successful daughter and her husband who works part-time. So I guess your more successful son-in-law was right about him being a slacker. But the very least you could have done was ask for permission. You just burned the relationship and trust of the person who was allowing you to live so comfortably. Really. We do have one community member, Paul Tefla the King, who has gone against the grain and said NTA. NTA, on a human level, of course you're NTA. I don't really care if you agree to the rule. I have my doubts that Adam helped you out of the goodness of his heart when he's imposing such an absolutely D of a rule. And then someone's agreed with him. Dadict has said, I honestly don't understand what everyone else in this thread expects her to do. I would break a lot of rules to protect my kids from something like homelessness. She could have talked to Adam about it, but I mean, if it were me, it would have been a courtesy. I wouldn't be asking. I'll be telling him what is happening. If he made a fuss about it, he can evict us all, because asking a mother to stand by while her child is in the street is not effing. So those are some of the top comments. I still think OP is the a-hole because of her just lying to the people that are helping her. I do think she was put in a difficult position because she can't let her daughter and her daughter's husband go homeless. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And while you're here, can I ask you to like, rate, subscribe, whatever you want to do, so we can have more stories together. Many thanks. Have a good weekend.